Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Born from Sin. I'm your host, Danielle. Today, we're going to talk about sisters. I actually grew up an only child, and for years, all I ever wanted was to have a brother or a sister. I grew up believing that I had two siblings, one being a brother by the name of Sean, who would have ended up being a veterinarian out in the Montreal area. For years, I went searching for this guy. Back in the day, it was very, very difficult to find somebody because we didn't have the internet access like we do nowadays. So it took me many years of going to a local library and searching through telephone books for the Montreal area to see if I could find this Sean O'Casey that would have been a veterinarian that was supposed to be my brother. Years later, I found out that my brother actually did not exist, and that's because of my mom's schizophrenic reality. So for years, I spent all this time looking for someone that didn't exist. Then I also found out that I had a sister, and she would have been 2 years older than me. I didn't really go searching much for her because I was told that she had died of cancer at the age of 4. And in my 20s, my mom ended up receiving a letter one day in the mail, and it was from a lawyer. And it ended up being my sister that was looking for us. She was trying to find her family. That's when I found out that my sister didn't actually die of cancer. Again, mom's schizophrenic stories. She was actually adopted when she was 9 months old. They had given her up for adoption, and she was finally adopted by a family out in British Columbia. So a few years after receiving this letter in the mail about her searching out her family, we ended up having the opportunity to meet in person. We were living in Sudbury, Ontario. I was on mother's allowance at the time, and my mom was on disability. We didn't own a home or a car or anything like that. We were pretty much dirt poor. So my sister comes in from British Columbia for a visit. We were super, super excited to meet with her. When she finally arrived, I think she was a little shell shocked. She was a little shocked at the circumstances that my mom and I were living in. She was fortunate enough that she had a fantastic upbringing with the family that adopted her. She got to go to college and get a career and become a nurse, and she did really, really well for herself. And I was so excited to finally have this sister in my life, a real biological sister, someone that I could hopefully, share my stories with and relate to, even though we didn't grow up together. She stayed with us for about 2 weeks, I think it was. And we didn't really get much of an opportunity to do anything like go sightseeing or anything like that, because again, we were dirt poor and we didn't have a vehicle. Unless you wanted to hop on the bus to go somewhere or take a taxi, that's the only way that's how we got around. The visit went okay in general, and then she went back to BC, and we stayed in contact with each other through Facebook for a few months. And then at around Christmas time, we had sent out gifts to her and my niece and my nephews. And a few months later, we just kind of lost contact. I have no idea what exactly happened. I'm going to assume that it was probably because she wasn't expecting us to be who we were. She wasn't expecting her biological mother to be schizophrenic and bipolar and be on all this medication. I think it was a very big shock to her system. So I don't blame her if that was her reason. I don't blame her for stepping back and not being prepared for what she just witnessed. So for her, maybe it was just easier for her to step away because she was going through her own stuff at that time. Whatever the reason, we ended up losing contact. And one day, completely out of the blue, I noticed that she had added my oldest daughter to Facebook. I reached out to her again in hopes that we can open up that line of communication and, maybe see where things went wrong the first time. So I put myself out there and I sent her a message and I said, "Hey, listen, this is my new Facebook, blah, 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 blah. Hit me up, send me a message if you're interested in talking." And she did. Shortly after that, my husband and I had decided that we were going to take a trip out to British Columbia. We had everything all planned. We were going to be there for about a week. My oldest daughter was going to come watch our place in Sudbury. And while we were out there visiting, we were actually going to visit with our youngest daughter because that's where she lived at the time. So we hop on the plane, make our way out to BC, get there the first day. My sister had invited my youngest daughter to meet her at the airport, so it was a great surprise. Wasn't expecting it whatsoever. And we got to spend pretty much our entire time that we were in BC for the week. We got to spend it with our youngest daughter as well. So that part, fantastic. We leave the airport and we had rented a vehicle, and my youngest daughter and husband decided to drive together, and I hopped in with my sister and they followed behind us. Holy crap, was that a nightmare. First red flag. Her car is so filthy that you're literally sitting on top of garbage. She would transport her mom, her sick mother, in this vehicle full of garbage. You literally had to climb over the garbage to put your friggin' feet down on the floor on top of garbage. Never paid attention to the road. My biggest fear is dying in a car accident, and I honestly believe that that day was going to be the day that I was going to die in a freaking car accident. Like, terrible driver. Finally made it to her place. I get out of the car, I'm freaking shaking. Stand outside, have a smoke with my husband while my youngest daughter goes inside with my sister. And I'm telling my husband, I'm like, holy frig, man. And he's like, are you okay? Like, he was watching, he was following us, and she's just like going all over the road, not paying attention, talking, like, and he knew right away. He's like, oh my God, he says to my youngest daughter, your mom is going to be so freaked out by the time that we get to her sister's place that I'm just going to stay outside and have a smoke with her so she can calm down. So that's what we did. Finally make our way inside. My sister was very excited about having us there. She had made plans to gather her family so that we could all meet together this one night, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. Being a nurse, she was on night shift. So she slept during the day and she was wide awake at night, which again, that's her schedule, so I get it. I'm not disrespecting her in any way, shape, or form here. However, when you have company that's visiting you and you decide that you're going to get up in the middle of the night because that's the time that you get up or whatever, that's you're wide awake because you work night shift. I get it. But if you're going to start cleaning and vacuuming your home while your company is sleeping, you're pretty selfish. Just saying. If you're going to go in and out of a bedroom that your company is staying in just because you need to grab shit out of there because you want to clean your house in the middle of the night, pretty damn selfish of you. Flag number 2. First night, we're sitting on the couch and we're having a conversation, and you know what I mean? We're having a couple drinks, everything's going good. All of a sudden, my sister comes out of the bathroom and she is like wired for sound. And I'm like, what is going on? Not thinking anything of it. We partake in smoking weeds. Everybody reacts differently to it, and I just figured maybe she was just having a good high. Didn't think nothing much of it. Then she decides that she's gonna sit down in front of my husband and I. We're sitting on the couch and she's sitting in a chair across from us. And the woman has no underwear on. And she has a nightgown on, and she's sitting there opening her legs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so we can visibly see everything down below. Another flag. Then later throughout the evening, and again, this is still the first night that we're here, she decides that she was going to start talking about her past and started talking about mine. And I don't know where exactly things went wrong, but she was in my face. And I mean, like, here in my face, talking to me, screaming and yelling about her past and her this and her that. And I was just in so much shock when she did this that my face turned completely white and all I could see was my father standing in front of us. I was PTSDing hard at that very moment. When she finally stopped and we finally went to bed that night or whatever, I cried. I wanted to go back home. I wanted to get back on a plane the very next day and head back to Ontario because I did not want to be around this woman. I could not handle her in that state of mind that she was in. Go to bed, and again, she starts cleaning her friggin' house, blah, 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 blah. Very, very, very inconsiderate woman. Very inconsiderate. Got to meet her family and her only daughter and her two boys. Fantastic kids. I was so honored to be able to meet them. Unfortunately, we have lost contact. I still do have them on Facebook, but we don't really talk. And that's okay. I mean, I wish I could close that gap a little bit more, but maybe someday. But we had such an amazing time with them. These kids are so wonderful. The stories that they told me about them growing up and about how it was for them living with their mom literally broke my heart. I can't tell you how much I could relate to what these children went through. So it broke my heart to know that, unfortunately that was the life that they grew up in because nobody deserved what they went through. And I also got to meet the woman that raised my sister. And let me tell you, this woman is incredible. She has got to be the sweetest person that ever walked the face of the earth. This woman was like Mother Teresa times a million. She has so much joy in her heart. She always had a smile on her face. She was always happy. Like nothing fazed her. It's just she was always in a good mood, like such a loving person. And I'm so happy that my sister had that woman to raise her because man, I would have given anything to switch places with my sister. Not that I would want her to go through the abuse that I went through by any means, but the whole fact, or even maybe not switch lives, but even be a part of her life. Maybe, if I would have been lucky enough to be adopted by this woman, maybe I wouldn't have had the shit life that I had. And unfortunately, her mom passed away, and I was very heartbroken by that. It hit me harder, to be honest with you, than my mom's own death has. I was very, very thankful that my husband and I had the opportunity to meet her and see how amazing of a person she really was. Rest in peace, Bertha. We all love you and miss you. I also got to meet our adopted brothers and sisters, fantastic people. And then I got to meet another niece that I still I still talk to on Facebook. We don't talk as often as I'd like to, but we're still in contact and I love you, Melissa. I hope you're doing well. And one of these days we'll get back together. So again, it was a good visit. We had some really good times while we were there. About, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 days into this visit, my sister had a birthday party that she was going to. And she was very excited about my husband and I going out there with her, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, we were all getting ready to go to this birthday party. And she told us to meet her at a specific area because she had to go elsewhere, and so did we. We had to go grab like spokes and stuff like that or whatever before we headed out. So we were going to meet at this one specific park, and then we were going to follow her because there was no way in hell I was getting in the car with her again. We were going to follow her in our rented vehicle out to her friend's place to spend the night. And we waited. We went to the store, we got our stuff or whatever kind of thing, and we drove to this area that we're supposed to be meeting my sister at. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited some more. About an hour and a half later, when she didn't friggin' show up, we left and we headed back to her place because she didn't have a cell phone at the time and we had no way of getting a hold of her. So we ended up heading back to her place. She's nowhere to be found. All right. So then she ends up messaging me from her Facebook. I had my cell phone on me. It showed up in my notifications. I open up my notifications only to find out that she is now at her friend's place and her door is locked. And we have no way of getting out to where she's at because it's a very secluded area and you have to know how to get there to be able to get there. And guess what? We didn't know how to get there. So now my sister's out there at this birthday party and she's not going to leave, obviously, because it's her friend's birthday party. I totally get that, and I'm not not putting you down for it. But we literally, we were stuck. We're like, okay, so like, what the frig do we do now? And she said to us, in a message, if you can break into my house, well, then fantastic. And if not, well, let me know. And then she was gone, just like that. So thankfully, my husband broke into the house and we got inside. She didn't come back until the very next day. So yeah, not so much of a good visit with her. We leave and we make our way back to Ontario. We flew out at night. And when we got to Toronto, there was a layover because our flight in the morning had been canceled to go from Toronto back to Sudbury because there was a big snowstorm. We were hoping that we'd be able to get on the next flight, but that one ended up being canceled too because of this damn snowstorm. So we ended up renting a vehicle and we drove from Toronto, Ontario to Sudbury, Ontario, and it took us about 10 hours to get there because of this damn snowstorm. Get back, we finally, okay, we're home. And now we're going to start getting prepared because in a week's time, my sister is coming from BC and she's coming for a visit. Fantastic. We had a little 2-bedroom mini home at the time, or a trailer, however you'd like to call it. And although we had a spare room, we didn't have anything in it, like a bed, a dresser, or anything like that, because it was just me and my husband living there at the time. During the week, we made our way to the furniture store. We ended up buying a brand new bed. We ended up buying a dresser, just simple enough or whatever to accommodate her while she was going to be staying with us for a week. And we told everybody about it. We were like, okay, so she's going to arrive on this day. I told my oldest daughter and my best friend Chantal and my mom. I told my mom, I said, guess what? My mom was still alive at that time and she was living at Pioneer Manor in a nursing home. And I was like, hey, guess what? Darlene's coming. And she was so excited about that because she wanted the opportunity to be able to see Darlene again. So we did all this stuff. We were all prepared. And then all of a sudden we get a message. She's got 2 weeks holidays. So she's going to take a week of that her first week, and she's going to go relax out in Mexico or Cuba or wherever the heck she was going. Fine, not a problem. And then after that, she was going to come stay with us in Ontario. All right. Guess what never happened? She never came to Ontario. Nope. She just decided last minute or whatever kind of thing that, yeah, no, I changed my mind and yeah, so I love you and I'll see you later. And that was it. That was the end of that. I was pissed. I was so mad. We had gone above and beyond to accommodate her coming in for this visit, for her not even to freaking show up. She reminded me so much of my dad. Just very, very selfish, very self-involved, very promise shit and never follow through with it. Doesn't care about anybody else's feelings or how it's, how you're not showing up is going to affect anybody else. Nope. Just, I'm going on holidays and screw you. So for a few years after that, I just kind of didn't bother with her. At one point, she was reaching out to me because she wanted information, medical information about our mom. And I was more than happy to provide that information to her as long as she gave me a blood test, a DNA blood test proving that her and I were biological sisters. I didn't doubt that Darlene was my sister. We very much look alike. She's got beautiful blonde curly hair. I have poker straight, now dyed purple hair. But a lot of our facial features and all that, I know she's my sister. I know that we are biologically related. However, because of all the crap that I went through and all the stories that I was led to believe, and because of my mom's schizophrenia, I was not willing to give up my mother's medical information to anybody unless she provided me with a blood test. I don't think that was being unreasonable. We kind of battled back and forth over it. And I was like, yeah, no, give me a blood test. Yeah, no, give me a blood test. Nope, give me a blood test. And she didn't. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I'm done. And I'm not going to go through this anymore. And I blocked it. And I don't know, maybe about a year ago, I had unblocked her from Facebook. And she started leaving little kind, like good morning on my posts and stuff like that, trying to, break down that wall and open up that conversation again. So again, like the sucker that I am, I went and re-added her to Facebook. Things were going good. Things were good. She was still out in BC. We had moved to New Brunswick at this point in time. She was living her life. I was living mine. And it was nice to kind of have that open communication again. And then this past summer, my sister decided to come visit the East Coast. Her first time out here, totally thrilled about it. I didn't even know that she was heading out here until she posted something on her Facebook about it, which was like the day before her flight or the day of her flight. So when I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, you're here coming down this way or whatever kind of thing, and let me know if you've got some time. I'd like to, I'd love to show you around. Like, just let me know. I'm available on weekends because I was working Monday to Friday at that point in time, and I only had access to my vehicle on the weekend because my husband and I were both working." She says she was out here for a couple of weeks. I'm like, fantastic. You know what I mean? Let me know what weekend you're free and we'll get together. And she messaged me and, hey, I'm going to be in the New Brunswick area on these specific dates. I looked them up and I'm like, well, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to meet up with you on those dates because they're during the week and I don't have access to a vehicle. So if you're around on the weekend or you can plan on a weekend where I have access to my vehicle, let me know. This went back and forth, back and forth. Then she finally, hey, you know what? I'm going to be in New Brunswick on this specific weekend. You know, let me know if you want to get together. Okay, cool. So I messaged her back. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this or whatever kind of thing. And then throughout the week or whatever, it was all these little messages of, yeah, I might be a little delayed or not sure if I'm going to make it and blah, 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 blah. So again, I had enough. And I literally sent her a message and I said, hey, listen, you enjoy your time here out on the East Coast. You obviously had planned on coming out here without visiting with me to begin with, because otherwise I wouldn't have found out about it pretty much the day that you arrived here. I wasn't part of your plans to begin with, and that is perfectly okay. But you enjoy your time and I'll catch you on the flip side. And then I blocked her, and she still blocked because I absolutely refuse to put up with this narcissistic behavior anymore. I'm not going to PTSD myself anymore because of this woman. I'm just not. I grew up an only child, and in 1986, I ended up meeting the woman that I consider my sister. Her name is Chantal, and unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, and I'm still so heartbroken. Sorry, I'm probably gonna cry. Man, I miss her. That woman, she was my sister. She was the one that kicked my butt when I needed it. She was the one that never judged me. She's what a real sister was all about. And one of these days, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna do an entire podcast about her, about my real sister. Because without her, I never would have gotten through so much of my life, and I miss her so much. And I only hoped that my biological sister, that I would have been able to have, had that bond like I did with Chantal. But that's never going to happen. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I'm going to sit down, like I said, one of these days, not right now, because I can't, can't do it. But as I'm healing through all of this stuff and sharing it with all of you, I will make sure that I dedicate an entire podcast to Chantal, my real sister. Take care. See you next week.